Alright, so we're into WrestleMania season, and I want to point out all of these faces here. All these guys, and who should be main events and who shouldn't. Um, you got Rusev, who belongs in a main event somewhere. Um, Sheamus, is that Sheamus? Yeah, it is too. Yeah, I keep forgetting Rusev's on this side. Um, Matt Hardy, I think, deserves a little more than he's getting. Although the matchup between him and Bray at the Matt Hardy compound with the boat. Anyways, Asuka, Alexa, Roman. You got Brock down here, John Cena, AJ. I'm going somewhere with this. Kevin Owens is here. Um, Becky, all the New Day members, Bobby Roode. I think there's Corbin. Baron Corbin's there. Natalia's not on the shirt, or is she? Yeah, she's right there. Miz. There's never been a better time for WWE in terms of top stars. So I want to acknowledge that at the start of my concerns. It was announced tonight on Raw. Triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. The Miz versus Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. Awesome. The rumor had been that they were also going to throw Elias and Braun Strowman in there. Less awesome. The original rumor had been Braun Strowman would face The Miz at WrestleMania. That's a squash. That's a squash. It means The Miz Taraj goes in the ring, he squashes them, The Miz attacks him, and then he beats The Miz in probably 30 seconds. Now, it can work. I seem to remember a moment where the Ultimate Warrior came out and pinned Honky Tonk Man in a matter of seconds, and the fans ate it up, but that was a long time ago. But the NHL, or the NHL, get out of there, Shannon, you're not talking hockey right now. Just forget all the stuff behind you. The WWE right now has been putting on too many of these 4-way, 5-way, 6-way matches. Way too many. For Fastlane, they've got a six-pack challenge where it's AJ versus half the roster. And I get it. Because part of the reason I'm pointing out all the big names on the shirt is because there's so many guys who are fighting for so few spots in the WWE. You could start a third show right now. You could have Raw, SmackDown, and Nitro. You could bring back Nitro, move half of each roster off Raw and SmackDown over to the Nitro show, and put on a darn good 2 hours of wrestling with some fantastic main event guys without losing anything from Raw or SmackDown. And that's not including all the guys in NXT that are fighting to come up. Adam Cole, baby. I'm telling you, Adam Cole is the future. But he's going to have a hard time getting there because there's never been this much depth. I look back to the WWE WCW wars. That was different. Because those wars, you had so many veterans, older guys who'd been around for a long time. We really couldn't move all that well anymore in WCW. And we'd already seen them all fight each other and we were kind of tired of them. And most of the WWE's crew is at least younger, and if they are older, they can still go. Like John Cena can still wrestle. For all the "you can't wrestle" and all the Cena sucks crap that you hear from the crowds, he can wrestle. Roman, I know can. I don't know why they don't let him. It's like Brock. Brock, it's Germans and the F5. Germans, the F5, and it's boring. Brock Lesnar went out the other night. I think it was in Chicago. Because, of course, if you're going to do something crappy, do it in Chicago, right? All the CM Punk fans are there. So Brock Lesnar, the main event was him against Kane. And they had him beat Kane in about 20 seconds. A couple of Germans and an F5, and he beats Kane. Now, again, looking back to the 80s, that would have been alright. Hulk Hogan comes out, squashes a guy in 30 seconds, does a bunch of these, does a bunch of this to his ear, and everybody goes home happy. But Brock, man, it's just nuclear. Crowd goes nuts. Because now we are smarter fans, and we know better. So even though my argument would be, well, Kane jobs all the time, did you expect more from that match than you got? Because this is what Kane does. If there's some kind of a 3-way or 4-way match, and Kane's in it, Kane's eating the pin. He is there to enhance guys and put them over the same as Big Show is. He is there to put guys over. It's part of the reason I think why Undertaker's not bothering with this Mania. From everything I've heard, Undertaker's not bothering, and he doesn't need to. He's already lost twice at Mania. He doesn't need to come back and lose again. And that's what's going to happen. If he went into a match with John Cena, there's no way Cena eats the pin in that because Undertaker's retiring. So just leave his match with Roman Reigns as the last one. We can all argue about who, should have beaten the streak, how it shouldn't have been Brock, but whatever. It doesn't matter. In the end, it's done. Taker's done. Move on. The one thing that's weird though, and I'm looking at this year's WrestleMania, and let's just take a quick look down it. So you've got Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, and nobody wants to see it. Right now, nobody wants to see it. And what they're doing with Brock and getting nuclear heat in Chicago that they know is going to get around the internet is they're trying to build up that Brock's kind of an ass. And that, with him not posing and smiling for the fans, which isn't Brock's character anyways, with him acting like he's a prick the whole way through, it goes back to that narrative of Roman Reigns that he thinks he's better than us, he thinks he's better than the title, we're sick of him, we're all sick of him, let's get rid of him kind of thing. I don't think it's going to work, but it's an attempt by WWE to get the fans behind Roman Reigns, the way that the kids are. Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. This is what makes me angry. When you win the Royal Rumble, they say, what? You're going on to main event WrestleMania. Not fight for the title. Main event WrestleMania. Is Shinsuke versus AJ going to be the last match of the night? Does anybody want to bet that match goes on before Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar? I'd go a step further. Does anybody think it goes on before Rousey and Angle versus Triple H and Steph? Because I think it goes on before that match, and that match goes on before Reigns versus Lesnar. And that's upsetting because Shinsuke versus AJ should be the best match of the night, as long as they don't throw 8 or 9 other guys in that, and I'm scared. Because there are too many guys who don't have a match right now. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor versus The Miz is going to be a great match as long as they leave it at that. Triple threat I can handle. When it gets into 5 or 6 guys, that's when the match you're distracted because you're like, wait, Seth got punched in the face about 10 minutes ago and he's still down on the floor selling it like he got shot. This is stupid. And you think about it, because anytime a guy gets knocked out of the ring and he's like, ugh, on the floor and he can't get up, I start thinking about what knocked him down, and I'm thinking, no, that's not going to hold him down that long. Guy didn't punch him that hard. And then I'm taken out of the match. The women's title they haven't announced yet, but the rumor is this, that Asuka will actually fight Charlotte Flair and that Alexa Bliss will fight Nia Jax. Now, the fact that Nia Jax keeps eating defeat after defeat after defeat against Asuka doesn't make me feel good about Nia's chances. And I'm not a big Nia Jax fan. I think there's a video on this channel from a couple years ago where I talked about how I didn't like Nia Jax or something along those lines, or that I didn't think she had a great repertoire. I think she's got better. And full credit tonight, Mandy Rose was in a match tonight and she looked good. That's the best match I've seen Mandy put on. That was good. She handled Bayley well, and I don't think she hurt her at all. I think she took care of her without making it look like she took care of her. And that's some good wrestling, so I'll give her credit for that. And then they can do the stupid Sasha Bayley thing. I assume that ends up on the card too. Or, here's what I'm concerned with. Is Asuka going off to fight Charlotte, and Sasha, Bayley, Alexa, and Nia being a 4-way for the women's title. It's not in the rumors, but it would sure work, wouldn't it? So Sasha and Bayley have this fight going back to Elimination Chamber. That Sasha screwed Bayley out of her chance to pin Alexa. Okay? And Nia's already been called by Alexa. She should be in the title match. She belongs in the title match. So Nia gets in there. So now you got a 4-way challenge, and there's a reason for all 4 wrestlers to be in there, and it turns into a schmoz. Turns into an absolute schmoz. And it's a shame. What I also miss with Fatal 4-Way matches, and WWE hasn't done this in a long time, is I remember when Fatal 4-Way matches, there were 2 people legal in the ring at a time, and you had to be pinned. So all 3 other wrestlers had to be pinned out or submit in order for that one person to win. I miss when Fatal 4-Ways were like that. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along the way, WWE went, first one that gets the pinfall wins. It's lazy. And it takes out some interesting plot lines you can add later, with person A screwing over person C, so person B gets the pinfall, but then person B loses to C. You can get more storylines out of it than just looking at a Fatal 4-Way and going, well, Dolph's going to eat the pin because he always eats the pin. Well, yeah, Kane's going to eat the pin. Who's going to pin him first? And that's what always happens. Anytime they have these big schmoz matches, we know what's coming. There's this big six-way match now for the title. Dolph's going to eat the pin. I can't see how Dolph doesn't eat. Maybe Baron Corbin, but probably Dolph, because that's what they do. So they have more talent in WWE right now than I think they've ever had, and they have more TV time now than they did 20 years ago to tell stories. And they're still taking the first 20 minutes of Raw, the first 15 minutes of SmackDown, and having it talking in the ring, which I think is borderline criminal. When you consider the ratings that gauntlet match got, which was 65 minutes of Seth Rollins in the ring battling three different guys before he finally went out after, it shows that wrestling fans want to see wrestling. We're not tuning in to see Stephanie's whatever she's got going on. The only thing we look for with Stephanie is a wardrobe malfunction. Let's be honest. As guys, that's basically it. Because Stephanie is aggravating, and she's always screaming, and when she screams, she's aggravating. And she's a good guy one night, and she's a bad guy the next. And she's slapping people across the face, and they might be faces, they might be heels, and she's all over the map. Sometimes she's in character when she's on TV, and sometimes she's not. She's all over the map. And it's just aggravating. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot of other reasons why I'd go, oh good, Stephanie's out here. I can't think of the last time I went, oh yes, Stephanie's coming out. Yes, now the show's going to get better. As soon as Stephanie comes on, I'm like, well, I don't need to watch this for the next 5 minutes. Click, because I know she's not going to shut up. It's ironic I'm up to 12 minutes of not shutting up talking about somebody else not shutting up on TV. I get it. But I wanted to just voice my concerns because right now this card looks nice and clean. The cruiserweight match, I don't know that it matters. I hope that the rumors of Neville coming back on the Raw the day after they crown the winner of the cruiserweight title, I hope that's true, because Neville kind of got screwed. And I'd even be happy if Neville wasn't in the cruiserweight division. I think one of the big crimes that they're committing right now is there's some guys who are cruisers who are actually pretty damn good wrestlers, and they're treating them like WCW used to treat their cruiserweight division. You're a cruiserweight, you can't go beyond it. Not only that, but at least the cruiserweights then were on Nitro. They would get their own spot on Nitro. And I remember when Nitro was on WCW, I'm old enough to remember, and I would watch the cruisers, especially Jericho and Eddie Guerrero, Chavo, Juventud Guerrera, I liked a lot. Ray, I mean, there were so many really good wrestlers. I would watch the cruisers. Anything Jericho did, I would watch. When he was calling out Greenberg and he had the entourage, that was the greatest thing in wrestling history, other than Al Snow with Head. But I didn't watch Nitro for the NWO. I didn't watch Nitro for whatever Hulk Hogan was craping about that week, or whatever Sting and Piper were doing, whatever. I didn't care. I was like, I'm done watching these guys. I've watched them for years. The Cruisers brought me in. But the Cruisers were screwed over. They weren't allowed to move up past the Cruiserweight division. So they went to WWE, basically en masse. Look at the night that Benoit, Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko debut. And their faction didn't get a whole lot of belts as a faction, but all four of those guys played major roles over the coming year. Perry Saturn eventually ended up with a mop and wearing a dress, because I don't know, I don't get that. Dean Malenko was near the end of his career, so he didn't get a whole lot of pushing, but Malenko was fantastic. He was my favorite wrestler at the time. And Guerrero, champion. Benoit, champion. We know what happened there, but my point is this. These guys were at a ceiling in WCW, came over to WWE and became bona fide huge stars. There's no alternative now for these cruiserweights. They're on 205 Live, which is dead. I've tried watching 205 Live, and there's no differentiating characters. There's no differentiating one feud from another. It's a mess. It's written like nobody cares. There doesn't seem to be a long-term anything to it, and it's forgettable. And when I saw Cruisers in Vancouver a couple weeks ago, I didn't care what the cruiserweights were doing, and that's criminal because they're very good wrestlers and they executed some very good spots, but they're stuck on 205 Live. They will never move up the card, and part of the reason is look how stacked the card is. You have so many people in the main event picture right now. kind of can't move them up. So WWE has a problem. They're too big for their own good. And they don't have any competition. If there was a time that you could bring in a wrestling program run by a Ted Turner type and steal a large portion of WWE's audience, it would be right now. Because fans are clamoring for an alternative, and there isn't one. So WWE's ratings will stay decent because there's no real alternative. TNA almost became an alternative, and then their live show was horrible. I remember watching their elimination chamber type thing, and dudes trying to climb out through the top of the cage and literally can't get over. And when I watched a wrestler in TNA couldn't get over, the irony of this, watching all the wrestlers in the ring, watching them and going, oh, God, he can't get out. Oh, what did we do? And realizing they probably hadn't practiced this before the show. Oh, there were so many beautiful, wonderful things about that TNA finally went live, and they were going to compete with WWE, and they just couldn't get over. The wrestler literally couldn't get out of the cage, and he struggled while everybody stood there and watched him. And then the rest of the match was just a schmoz, because who knows what's going to happen. So all that was missing was the gobbledygooker in the ring, square dancing with people. It was a mess, and that's the closest anybody's come to challenging them. So when Mania season rolls around and we do see schmoz matches, I'm looking forward to the Andre the Giant Battle Royal this year if they actually do something with it. Rumor is they're going to do something with it. It's not just going to be a throwaway like giving it to Mojo Rawley. Like, who the hell decided Mojo was going to be a star? Oh, I know who's going to be a star. Mojo. The one face that everybody agrees makes them want to gouge their own eyes out. The thing that scares me is I think I was reading today that Rob Gronkowski retired. Remember, part of the reason Mojo Rawley got pushed is because Rob Gronkowski's a good friend of his. Gronkowski's been involved with WrestleManias before. Let the wrestling rumors for Gronkowski begin. Could it happen? Yep. Absolutely. Will I like it? Nope. Not in the slightest. Because it means I get more Mojo. And I don't need more Mojo. I need more Zack Ryder. But they don't give Zack Ryder any time. I need more Ty Dillinger. He doesn't get a break either. There's so many guys in WWE right now that I look at and say, if there was a rival promotion, these guys could go and become massive stars. Massive stars. And it would be the same as back in, and again, I'm speaking to a younger crowd, back in the days of WCW when Jericho and Guerrero and all these guys were being held down in mid-card, there were plenty of WCW fans that said, they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. Hogan and all of them have earned it. What have they done to deserve it? So I fully expect people to say that about the mid-carders I'm talking about here. Like, they wouldn't succeed somewhere else. They're just mid-card. Right. Until you're given a chance. And it would be nice to see more guys given a chance. But it is hard when the top of the card is so bloody stacked. So I guess we have to get used to these 5, 6, 7, 8-way matches, which are virtually unwatchable. But let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.